What up, my guys? Welcome to another show, man. NBA Talk with Jay Money and the Shark. My guy, damn good idea today. He said, let's play the action music and then you carry it on. Go a little solo dolo. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Shark? Everything good with you, my guy?
Oh, yeah. Saturday, June 2021. Who would have thought we had a game 7 of the second round? We've been saying this over and over and over. This is usually the back end of the finals, but we're blessed to be here. I mean, it's kind of nice having NBA playoff basketball going all the way into the summer. I mean, I know not everybody that follows us is a huge baseball fan. Of course, we are dominant in MLB prognosticating and making picks and making money, but it's an NBA channel for a reason. We love the orange globe. I was born in Manhattan. I love it. I love to watch it. And I think as a starting point to this game, Game 7. If you're not excited to watch this game, I think you need to check your actual fandom because we can make money in 100 different ways. Game 7 could be a little difficult. Jay, where do you want to begin here?
Man, it's a bunch of different. To be honest, I mean, I'd like to begin just talking some stuff about yesterday, my guys. Obviously, lost a Philly first quarter, first half. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying, some guys, if you follow us on Twitter, I'll say, man, Philly coming back to win this game, man. So, you know what I'm saying? I know I hopped on them second half, a live money line, the third quarter, -1.5, all that, man. They came out 12-0 run. Seth Curry with the three. Shark there, but like I said, I just wanted to recap the games yesterday. Obviously, I mean these are playoff games; it's not regular season or whatever. So, and Donovan Mitchell, obviously, I feel sorry for him, Shark. I was telling my guys on the late chat last night. Donovan Mitchell is one of my favorite players right now. He came out balling. I even text you. I like the. Hopped on Jazz first quarter, first half. They cashed it for us. Then I see the Clippers start to come back. Hey, it's no problem. I'll take them live plus 5.5 on the money line. So we cashed, man. But what you think about yesterday's games, my guy?
Well, yesterday's game is a perfect snapshot to how us, particularly in the playoffs, we can't give out all the plays, and we can't give out 10 plays. Personally, I had a huge wager on Philadelphia money line at 150, 155. I did not drop it here because in the off chance it loses, I did not want everybody to call me and say they were living in a cardboard box in the streets of Philadelphia somewhere. And we don't really drop money line plays, adjusted lines. I said it before the playoffs on the show. Some of the best spots are adjusted lines just to be purely safe. You saw that game last night. It got to 94-93 on a Trae Young step back three, and you were just auto sweating. And then they did cover the game by 2 points, 104-99 on a -3. These are razor sharp lines. And I think not going too far into yesterday, but staying in the moment here, I think that is a good transition to what we're dealing with today. I don't know where exactly you want to begin with this one. I'll lead it back to you. But I do think this game is potentially very, very sharp on this figure today.
Exactly. I know we don't always recap, but like I said, it's the playoffs, some pretty big games, and obviously Donovan Mitchell, like we won't see him anymore this year. So I just want to talk about that, like Clippers. This is just NBA talk, but let's go ahead and get to today's game, my guy, because that's what you are for. But afterwards, maybe I just like come out here talking some basketball with my guy. Obviously we lost yesterday. Don't want to harp too much on that, man. But this game, Game 7, two of the best words in professional sports, my guys. Bucks versus the Nets, coming from Brooklyn here, home. A lot of people gonna favor the home team here, my guy. You have the Bucks hat on. Nets laying 1.5 here. Obviously, a lot of people liking the Nets. Maybe some sharps out there liking the Bucks. We'll see who's a better team, who has the better supporting cast that steps up. Shark, what we're looking at in this one.
Again, I think this is very difficult, and I think there's a ton of angles to look at. Of course, the first real standout point in a Game 7, it is the last game of the season potentially for both teams. So you are going to get the polar opposite of the consistency to the inconsistency. You're going to get their best effort. The only way this game does not come down the stretch and be really tight is if you just hit an absolute field goal percentage outlier for a team. And you saw that last night in the Utah second half. I mean, the Clippers came out, and this might as well have been the three-point shootout at the All-Star game with Steph Curry shooting every shot. I mean, these guys, Terrence Mann flipping it back to, I can't even say Florida State, flipping it back to what? I mean, this is the best game of the guy's career. And, we talk about just otherworldly skills coming to the fruition in a peak moment. And I think you're looking at that potentially today. One thing that I'm looking at here, which I think is very interesting, is Milwaukee first quarter. First thing I saw, I do cap and I do bet mostly offshore on Heritage Sportsbook. And the line is really kind of telling an interesting story here. Milwaukee has gotten steamed up, Brooklyn has gotten steamed up to -2 on the game currently. And the first quarter and first half are holding at pick. So you're not seeing a split here. You're not seeing that numerical weighting towards Brooklyn. And I look looked at the games and I thought to myself, okay, Brooklyn is actually 0-2 first quarter last two with James Harden pretty emphatically. They came out flat in both, and they came out flat in totally different environments. Home game, need the game, game 5, and road game, don't necessarily need the game, game 6. They're also 1-3 last 4 against the spread in the first quarter. And a really interesting point here, which is where I think the books may be going with this. The only first quarters Brooklyn has covered in this series were the games that they stayed in the same stadium back-to-back games. They covered first quarter game 2 after playing in Brooklyn game 1, and they covered first quarter game 4, which we had correctly, after playing a lackluster first quarter in game 3. So I think they're telling you that, kind of like we always say in the regular season, when a team travels, oftentimes coming home, they don't come out well in their home stadium. Of course, it did apply in Milwaukee. It was more so in Milwaukee just needing a game and really turning up like they like to do in the first quarter. But I think, again, coming back here in a game 7, you might see Milwaukee come out here with a little more juice in the first quarter.
Yeah, I can see it. You make a damn good point there. We know the Nets are all about shooters, right? And that's why I always say, guys, defense wins championships. Even in the new era here, defense still will reign because not a lot of people like defense playing on. I go back to PJ Tucker versus Durant. He plays a very sticky type defense. You can just tell that Durant, like I say, he's a baller. He can make shots over anybody. But I do think that when PJ Tucker is on him, that's when Kevin Durant is at his most uncomfortable. And you make really good points there. Nets are, like you say, better off coming in the same gym back to back, same shooting lines. All that, like I say, as a basketball player, does make sense. Just switching venues at the house. We know that it's going to be a rocking crowd or whatever. But what I've been seeing from these Nets, Shark, is that it's been KD, obviously the best player for the Nets, maybe the best player on the floor, obviously. But then it's Harden. He had to go for 16 last game. Still was a struggle, though. Still somewhat of a struggle. That's the two best players out there. Griffin's not really giving them things. Like, so for the Nets to be good, guys, you're going to need Griffin to likely go out for 20. You're going to need Jeff Green to get hot from 3 once again. Got Joe Harris. Where the hell is he? Why? I mean, I'm not going to say why is he still on the floor. He can turn it up at any point. But right now, guys, if you like the Nets, Joe Harris out there, I mean, he was plus minus and minus 25 the last game, my guys. So him and KD, even though KD had 32. But it's a tough game. Shamit's not really giving anything. The role players right now, it's all about who's going to play better as far as the role players. Be interested to see if Drew Holiday, Giannis, and Middleton can get it done over pretty much KD and Harden, right? It's big 3 versus big 2 right now. And then the role players. We know role players usually play well at the house, Shark. But you make some good points there where, hey, it's looking like – because what do we see in the last game as well at Brooklyn, right, Shark? They got up – the Bucks got up by a big lead, and they pissed it away. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the dynamics here, again, this is really difficult to cap. Brooklyn has covered every home game. They are also 4-2 ATS in the series against the spread. They did steal a cover on a plus 3.5 in game 3, 86-83 in Milwaukee. And you look at the dispersion here, it's really interesting because if Brooklyn covers tonight, they will go 5-2 in the series against the spread, and of course 4-0 at home. We did see this last night with Philly. Philly flipped the switch. They did the polar opposite. They said, you know what, we are coming out too hot. We do need to reserve energy for the second half. And you ask yourself a question, is Brooklyn going to say, guys, we can't come out and get slaughtered in the first quarter like we have been doing? So this is where it's difficult. And, I know, and I say this all the time, but everybody wants to have the big ringer play. And I've seen some really ignorant stuff on Twitter this morning where people saying, like, you have to up your unit size because it's game 7, first max play of the season, game 7. Like, let me make a point here. Because your fandom and your emotion skyrockets doesn't mean your wager size should skyrocket. Let's say that again. Because your emotion as a fan for the game skyrockets doesn't mean your wagers should skyrocket. Secondary point, because we assume that this is more of an emotionally bloated game for the players, like we always say in the regular season, people don't like to cap it because the best team will let down and tank to the fucking Orlando Magic. This is going to be best. Both teams playing a really good game. I'm giving you massive counterpoints to every side because this is purely what's going on in my mind tonight. As much as I love the travel factor fade for the Nets coming home in the first quarter, I also don't like the fact that they're smart, intelligent professional basketball players who are noteworthy in their mind saying, guys, we cannot come down and come out down 15 points in the first quarter again at home, which also segues me to my next point. I think there's a little bit more merit to taking the over here tonight. This has been a really interesting series against the total. The total is actually 0-5-1 against the over. It's clusters of unders. However, there's a noticeable split. most of those unders are noteworthy on the road. 86-83, 107-96, and 104-89, which Jay Money almost called live the final score last game. You come back to Barclays. Of course, this is where it gets difficult. Again, games 1 and 2, Kyrie Irving, no James Harden. Game 5, Harden hadn't played in a month. All of a sudden comes in there, no Kyrie Irving. A lot of moving parts here. And Jay, you want to make a couple comments here before we continue?
Yeah, I want to make some comments because the books are respecting Irving and Durant. They respect Irving and Durant a whole lot more than Harden and Durant right now. And obviously, I mean, guys, we'd have to know Harden's not 100%, as we know. And so I'm thinking, Shark, it seems like maybe he looked a little bit better last game. But then I'm thinking to myself, hamstring-wise, if you're playing every other day and it's not 100%, it can't be getting any better. I know all the treatment, all this, but you're going out there and playing the minutes that Harden is playing. Obviously, so guys, KD and Harden probably play every minute of this game. You know what, Shark? You know, and I kind of said this yesterday. I could see this happening too. I could see Nets coming out with some motivation, obviously, with, you know what I'm saying, with juice up in their home crowd, first quarter, first half. And I can see a lot of people don't believe in the fatigue factor, the minutes that KD and Harden, who are the best two players, their offense literally for the Nets, already not a great defensive team. If those two guys in particular, especially KD, run out of gas, the shots are a little long, a little short. Obviously you need KD at his top tier. Obviously they took him out with 5 minutes to go in the last game. Still end up playing 40 minutes. Him and Harden played 40 minutes last game, on top of 48 and 44 the last game. They're going to be in the 40s again. It's just crazy. I could see Nets coming out with something here, and I could see them fading in the second half. It's just me. I went to the spot. My guy was like, I know they're on Nets. I already know everybody in the spots on the Nets. I know this. I tell them I'm not betting today's game. I do lean the Bucks here full game. It's a tough one, Shark, I must say. But I'm glad you said that because you guys don't have to force a bet. Like, I'm gonna talk about a game about tomorrow that I like, but you don't have to force a bet just because game 7.
Another point on this total, I think Brooklyn's offense has atrophied in terms of their efficiency with too much ISO ball for KD, default ISO ball. And I think actually a really interesting point. I like, I always like to bring other games into the conversation. Look at what the Clippers did without Kawhi Leonard. They opened it up so much. Their pace was so much better. Their offensive efficiency was so much better. Both games too. And I think, I don't know, again, Steve Nash, I made the actual sarcastic remark on Twitter the other night. Steve Nash, welcome to coaching. But, Steve Nash, his first campaign here has had a great roster all year. He hasn't really had to do a whole lot.
Exactly. Can I come in real quick? Sorry. Can I come in real quick? Because I just want to say, I was telling people, bro, I can go and coach the Nets right now, and I would look like a good coach. And I know a lot of people talk shit about Budenholzer, but I'm kind of giving the coaching, edge to the Bucks. They do have a lot of continuity, the same type of team as well. Nash, new coaches. You got guys like D'Antoni on the bench, who he's a proven coach, but not proven as far as getting to the finals or getting to the conference finals. So he always chokes in the and he doesn't preach a lot of defense. So call me crazy, but I actually get a coaching edge to the Bucks here. Sorry, bro. I wanted to say something about that real quick.
No, I agree. And I'm going more towards the total because I found the total to be more interesting because the total is one walking outlier. When you see a 4-2 ATS environment for the series, theoretically, if the Bucks covered here tonight, the Bucks could cover. I mean, at -2, the Bucks could actually lose this game by 1 point. They could cover and lose outright. But if say the Bucks somehow go 4-3 ATS, that's very neutral, right? It's about 500. But when the books are so misgraded on the total, that was what really stood out in my mind. Like, what is going on here? Games 1 and 2 were so unbelievably misgraded. They had game 1 total come in at 239.5. And that just goes to show you coming into the series where the books, and again, professional odds makers don't usually miss this badly. They thought this was going to be a wide open series. And then game 2, same thing. It was in the 230s. And it's come down every single game. And I see the Hook, our man there, shout out to the Hook for some great commentary and picks. And he's saying basically that it keeps slowing down. The books are adjusting. 215.5 is by far the lowest line. And again, think about that. Game 1 in Barclays, 239.5. Game 7, 215.5. The only issue I'm looking at here is the last game was 221, 222. Did get to 114, 108, 222. That was the closest it's gotten to an over the whole series. And the really interesting environment here is the books were scaling the number down in Barclays. And Brooklyn almost got to the over in that environment. And Then they went on the road and played an awful offensive game where they had no legs, no nothing, and Milwaukee really locked them down. And then taking it to really the final thesis idea here, which is more of a narrative point. I heard Joe Harris make the comment, we got to get out there and let it rip. And trust me, I do not cap quotes, and I do not cap role players from University of Virginia. But I do think when he says we got to get out there and let it rip, he means we need to get back to our regular season style of ball, which is run and gun, shoot the threes, make the threes, pace it up and down, and really take advantage of this. And another point, if you look at Brooklyn's team total finals for the games in this series, extreme unders in Milwaukee and solid figures above 112 points per game in Barclays. I think you might see a more wide open game here tonight.
I don't mind capping quotes at all. Obviously, you're going to cap the game as well, but those quotes can be very telling, especially with the total. If you have a coach going out saying, hey, look, we want to up the pace, what does that mean? It means over nothing, simply put. If you have someone saying, hey, look, we need to be slower, more methodical, what does that mean? So I wouldn't talk anybody off looking at coaches' quotes. I like to go and look at the player interviews, all the after games. I want to see where they're at mentally. I want to see what they're talking about. Are they down on themselves? Do they have confidence? Giannis seemed like he didn't have too much confidence going into Game 6, but he came out there, didn't do any talking, and came out there and played, guys. So it's gonna be a crazy game. I can't wait to watch it. Make some live bets pre-game. Like I say, pre-game with a line of pretty much -1, -2. You likely get a better price with either team. So people that's laying, I know a lot of people laying money line with the Nets, and some people saying, hey, look, I might be able to catch a better money line live with the Nets. So be interested to see. It's a game of runs. Me personally, I want to see how the game is called. If KD's getting called, hey, it's gonna be for the Nets. If he's not, it's that even simple. Not even necessarily calls for the Bucks. If KD is not getting all those little simple calls, guys, it's just that's the only thing that I'm watching out for. Simply put, a lot of times, obviously, the refs dictate the game. This is Game 7. They should let these boys play. But I'm just saying, sometimes you could just tell when there's some. I don't know about you, Shark, but I noticed something yesterday. Not to go back on yesterday too much, but I noticed that the Hawks got almost every single call in the first half, and in the second half, they weren't getting any calls. Trae Young, they even called travel on him, everything. It was something very noticeable for me.
One that really made me laugh is that Trae Young got called for a palming call by Scott Foster.
Yeah.
But they don't call it in the sport.
Hey, first half, they were calling everything for like on 76ers, right? I mean, Ben Simmons had 2-3 fouls. It's fucking Scott Foster, bro.
And one other point on this over. Again, not really necessarily about this series, but I do think it's interesting. The only other Game 7 we've seen in this playoffs was Game 7 Clippers-Mavs in round 1. And that series had been all over the place. Of course, the road team had covered every game for the first 6. The totals have been all over the place. Game 7, again, and I think this is cross-referencing versus conventional wisdom, which is what I'm talking about. People assume Game 7 is going to be like a throwback to 1970, like 80, like Michael Jordan against the Jazz. Like nobody can score a bucket for like 6 minutes in the fourth quarter. I do think there's a flip to that polar opposite environment where these teams now in 2021 who like to shoot the three and pace are going to play more freely in their mind. Because there's a lot of apprehension, right? Game 5, we have to win. We go back on the road. Oh, Game 6, can we close out here? We still have another game. There's a lot of overthinking there. Game 7, the overthinking goes away. This is the last game of your season. And I think that naturally when people stop overthinking, they revert back to who they are, which is more of a wide open pace. And I think you saw that in the Clippers-Mavs series in Game 7. The game had a lot more offensive efficiency than almost any game in the whole series. And I think it speaks to that freedom of mind. And I think you could see an over here tonight based on that general idea.
Hey, it's a nice contrarian play there, I must say. I mean, you made some really good points too. Obviously, it's been steamed down. Game 7, there's people out there that's going to pretty much bet every under on Game 7. And they'll likely come out at 6%. But my guy is just saying, hey, this could be one of those 40% where, especially with the – I mean, could you ever talk? I know this series has pretty much been unders, but I mean, could you talk anybody out of a Nets over? I mean, seriously, what are we doing? I know it's Game 7, I know it's the playoffs, but they're still not one of the top tier defensive team, guys. You still just have to see that. I know they've been holding the Bucks down, but it's just been less possessions in these games. Bucks have been leaning on their defense. Be interested to see if they bring it today. I could just kind of, it's crazy. I can see the Nets coming out hot, and then the Bucks be like, all right, let's let these boys tire out, and then really just jump on them. Might be able to catch. I'm gonna try to look for. Hey, I hope Nets get up by double digits. I'll put a little something on Bucks plus the 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first quarter idea is a complete coin flip, as I said before. I think the travel factor of fading Brooklyn has played this series. For people that just joined, we were just discussing how the only first quarter covers for Brooklyn in the series have come in the second game in the same stadium, game 2 and game 4 without travel the previous night, which speaks to just, again, psychology of what they do off of trips or not. The only thing being said on that, I think it's an interesting thing to look at what happened with Philly last night, where they did the polar opposite. And I think, again, game 7, they're going to say, guys, we just can't get down big. So even though the line is not on them, it's all of Milwaukee first quarter and first half. This could flip the other way. And we talk about it in the regular season all the time, numbers and narratives. The best plays in the regular season are when the numbers and the narratives connect. I think there's a lot of numerical and narrative counterpoints here tonight. And I do think the over for the game, not necessarily the team total. The team total for me is a different environment. I don't cap team totals. But I do think the over really does have some merit here. I might throw a half unit on that if I'm really being honest here now.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at some props right now, man. I know me. I want to talk about one of these, give you guys a little early look. It's a game that I like tomorrow that I'll likely be betting. We still got to see what's up with Chris Paul, but if I'm not mistaken, I think he's confirmed out for tomorrow's game. We got the Clippers coming off a huge game. They might have partied a little bit last night, regardless. What you just do you want to talk some early looks at this? You want to keep talking about this Bucks Nets, some other looks? You want to talk about some props? What? You the boss, man. What you want to do, my guy?
Yeah, I think the number one thing I'm fading in tomorrow's game is Mike Breen's energy calling the game. I think he blew about 10 loads in the second half last night. I couldn't believe how energized this guy was. And this has nothing to do with the game of basketball. This is commentating. As a neutral commentator on national broadcast, I'm sorry, you should not be like partying about the Clippers win. I didn't have the Jazz. I'm not a Jazz fan. I was just like, this is unprofessional, bro. Every Clippers bucket, the guy freaking bang. Oh, yeah. and then the Jazz score, dude. The Jazz scored. He's like, and a bucket for Donovan Mitchell. And
right. Like they in Utah or something.
Literally, I was like, does this guy have some significant coin on the Clippers? Does he love the Clippers? Is he best friends with Billy Crystal? What is going on here?
I'm going to have to go back and watch it now, bro, because I didn't even pay attention. I was so hyped up because I had, like I say, man, if you see I kind of been live betting a bunch lately. Once I see this momentum shift, man, especially with the Jazz, and I see once I tweeted that the Jazz are choking again, Clippers were at +5.5 and +195 on the money line, my guy. So I'm like, I see it now. They're choking, and Clippers went and took a lead and didn't let it go. So I guess I was too into the game there, but I got to go back and watch the one because I've noticed shit like that before. It was like I'm sitting there watching some of my girl like, hey. Cuz got some money on this game. I'm telling you this right now. I can tell the way they talk about it. Fam bet on this game because some people be real down bad. They don't even want to talk about the game no more. Other ones just be so hyped. Say, damn, bro, you got $200 on it? Or probably 2 bands. You know, they probably make 300, 400 bands a year. They probably put 20 on the game real quick or something, man. He might have knew. Hey, he probably took him second half +1,000. My brain was on. He was on Clippers second half he was on Clippers live at the half +1,000. He probably just made 100 bands, Shark. That's why he.
I just thought it was so unprofessional. Like bringing enthusiasm to the commentary is obviously a great thing, but not when it's like just so one-sided. Like it was just, I don't know, man. It was just,
you could tell it was fishy.
I was annoyed by it because I just thought, because I don't really love the mainstream media as it is. I think there are a bunch of guys that studied a book.
I'm with you. Right there with you.
See things, but I was tuned in. To be honest with you, I didn't watch the first half. After the Philly game, I was doing a bunch of stuff. I came back and I saw you cover it. I was like, oh hell yeah, let's go Jazz. I came back and immediately the first thing I saw was a tie game. I was like, what? And I looked at the third quarter, 41-22 or whatever the fuck. And I was like,
that's why I wasn't on full game. That's exactly why, bro. I'm not, but I did think they was gonna come out hot. Remember, I text you and I was going live. I told him, I said, we're gonna try to get some money back, man. We taking Jazz first quarter. I said, fuck it. I ran upstairs. I said, we taking first half too, man. It was like 3 minutes before tip off. Fuck it. We taking first half too, man. But it worked out pretty well, man. But I want to talk about some props, bro, because this game, in my opinion, is gonna be about, especially if you like Nets, my guys. You might want to look at some Joe Harris props. You're going to need Joe Harris to go off. You might look at some Jeff Green props. Let's see. Griffin, Green, or Harris. One of them will need to go for 20 tonight, Shark. I just want to pick your brain real quick. Which one do you think that it would be out of the – Shamet, he's at 6.5. He doesn't even get much playing time. It'd be out of Harris, Griffin, and Green, some actual starters. Shark, which one you think? I think Griffin is at 11.5. Harris and Green are both at 13.5. Which one you think can get over their prop, my guy?
It's a good question. I'm not overly familiar with daily fantasy type of stuff. I do think you said Shamit, which is another point. Going back to Steve Nash, I think Steve Nash needs to open up his rotation a little bit. I think again, it's become too heavy on the ISO ball, and these guys are just standing around watching. It reminds me of Carmelo Anthony with the 2012 Knicks, and that doesn't get you anywhere. It just doesn't get you anywhere. I mean, you can win a game 5 and you can have Kevin Durant score 49 points. I don't think that's going to necessarily get you to the finals or win the championship. And I think he just has lost trust in his group. I think it's become way too isolated on the top guys. I think Landry Shamet is a great off-ball shooter, and he's been uninvolved. So he needs to get involved. Blake Griffin needs to play better. But again, asking Blake Griffin is definitely over the hill in his career physically. The fact that he's even mildly reliant on the 3 ball nowadays is just – it's not his game. He should not be shooting threes. And then, of course, Joe Harris. Joe Harris needs to get off. But again, Joe Harris is not – he's not a pull-up shooter. He's not Steph Curry. He's not going to create his own shot at the top of the 3-yard. So he needs to come off screens, and he needs the other guys to get involved, and he needs ball movement. And this is the thing. It's all dependent on their ball movement. It's not necessarily these guys – and they just don't get into a flow. And that's where I draw it back to if these props hit, which theoretically I would love to see them all hit for the over and the flow of the game. It's on Steve Nash getting the flow of the offense engaged. It's a conversation they need to have 100%.
And that comes into coaching adjustments, and that's to where Shark. Obviously they just lost and it's game 7, and they got to. I don't know that Steve Nash does anything different. I think they're content with KD going to win the game. And what you're saying is, Shark, if they keep playing that same type of game, and we know the Bucks are a defensive team. That's my problem, guys. They're obviously the more healthy team. If they have figured this out, guys. Might be in trouble. It could be another bloodbath. That's the only thing I'm saying, my guys. And a lot of people saying, hey, Giannis gonna fold. I think this game is on Middleton. Obviously, we've seen him not necessarily play the same on the road, Shark. I think this game is totally up to Christmas. I think Giannis has heard enough bullshit to talk about him. I think he's going for 30 and 10 rebounds in his sleep tonight. They need Middleton to step up. And I always say it, Drew Holiday is a main catalyst. PJ Tucker's going to come to play. He's coming to fucking play. It's a man amongst boys out there. He's going to be on KD in his face all day. And obviously, you pay attention to some PJ Tucker fouls as well. If you get a couple of quick fouls on Tucker, it'll let you know how the game is going right there. But Shark, Shamet had played 22 minutes last game. Obviously, role players play better at the house. 22 minutes, 0 for 2 field goals, 2 points, 2 free throws. That was Shamet. 22 minutes.
Yeah, just no involvement. And I mean, I haven't watched both games for full 48, but I noticed just how very noteworthy the lack of ball movement and fluidity within the offense. So
Shark, this is a problem, bro. They only had a 6-man rotation last game. The last 5 minutes is when they put some other players in. I mean, they had Mike James and Claxton. Mike James played 3 minutes. Claxton played 3. They're asking their starters to do way too. I don't care what nobody says. They're asking their starters to do way too much. This is game 7 of the series to where the Bucks, if they've had them figured out, this is the utmost. I don't care. Full game is Bucks or nothing for me. I did stay off this game. It's a tough one. I know the whole world's on the Nets and think it's going to be easy, but I lean Bucks here plus the 2. I think they'll win the game. I think they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Nobody likes it, my guys.
I know what I know is just purely I don't know. And I'll be willing to say that because I know, we like to gamble and people like to say they like to gamble. We don't like to gamble. J Money and I like locks.
Right. I don't like to lose.
We don't like coin flip games. And just remember this conversation next year in the regular season when we are, putting out 3 to 5 plays a day with authority. When there's one game on the board and it's the top 2, theoretically, probably maybe the top 2 teams in the East. I mean, Philadelphia came out of nowhere. Coming into the season, it was Brooklyn and Milwaukee. These are the top 2 teams in the East, for lack of a better comparison. Playing one game for supremacy on a pick line? Come on. Like, if this was in the regular season, this would be the last game on the board we would throw money on, just being perfectly honest. Yeah. And I want to reiterate that point. People are out with their friends or at the bars. It's the most competitive shit. It's like the Super Bowl, right? Everybody has to have an angle on the Super Bowl. The most watched games are the hardest games to bet, generally speaking. So, for me, it's definitely a lean to the over. I think it's definitely a very contrarian over, but all the points we discussed for the previous 29 minutes and 32 seconds, we are flowing, Jan. I love it. And again, the first quarter, I wanted to have a look. The line is all over Milwaukee, but the narrative could suggest Brooklyn finally turning up here with a good first quarter. So I think we should close it out. And Jay, you any final words?
Man, I wanted to talk about this game just real quick. I don't even. We could talk about Game 7 Hawks tomorrow. We saved it. I want
Yeah.
to know what you think about Chris Paul, man, because the Suns are your squad, right? You know how
Yeah.
they juice up, play really good team defense. How do
Mm.
you think they will look without Chris Paul and obviously Clippers without not Paul George, without Kawhi Leonard? They've been playing good team ball right now. What we thinking Game 1, man? I gotta pick your brain right now. Obviously, nothing officials today, no officials, but what you thinking, my guy? Mainly Chris Paul.
I think this is tough. Is Chris Paul out 100%?
The injury report that I'm seeing says he's out for game 1 because we know if Clippers versus Jazz had went to 7, then it would have been a better chance for Chris Paul to come back in game 1. It would have been on Tuesday. But if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, I'm looking at one right now, and it was at 4.5. It's went up to 5. I see Chris Paul out. COVID-19 protocols out. It's just out. We don't have an update on it. That's just still saying out from the protocols. But I don't think he's supposed to be ready for game 1.
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to come out here tomorrow morning or tomorrow at noon or whatever and have an official. I will definitely have an official tomorrow, I think. I'm probably lean Clippers, though. I think what you saw from Phoenix, we've been talking about this all postseason. The only 2 games Chris Paul didn't play at full strength. He didn't play one completely, and then he was injured in the other one. They didn't play, and they didn't win against the Lakers. And otherwise, they've been just an absolute blowout tour. And I think this does connect with Chris Paul, the leadership and the basketball on-court quality. And I think it's a combination of Chris Paul not being in there and also a long layoff. And, you think about, you said that the Clippers might be hungover, whatever. Truthfully, they're professional guys. I don't think it's going to factor into that at all. I think they might ride that momentum. And I do think that, generally speaking, what we've seen without Kawhi Leonard, I think this team could catch a total secondary energy within this new group. We've said this before: Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, Luke Kennard, obviously Paul George. I think, it's funny, Skip Bayless made a comment about they're better without Kawhi Leonard. I think it's the first time I've ever agreed with Skip Bayless in 70 years in sports media. I don't know if you would necessarily say long-term they're better without Kawhi Leonard, but I do think a key point, like we just talked about with the Nets, no ball movement and it just sticking. I think this opens up the group to play a better brand of basketball, a freer brand of basketball. And again, there's no pressure on them. They're just the underdog now. Paul George plays better when there's no pressure on him. He doesn't think as much. And I think all these things, the layoff, no Chris Paul, plus the lack of thinking, the dog, whatever, I do think the Clippers would be a reasonable look here coming in here and stealing game 1.
Yeah, no, I lean Clippers and under on the brink. I think it'll be a more defensive game, whether Chris Paul's in there or not. I love the way the Suns, and in my opinion, I think these are 2 of the better defensive teams in the league. I know Philly and all this. I don't know about that right now. The Clippers and the Suns, literally across the board, these guys can lock up. Team defense. These guys can lock up, guys. I'm talking about perimeter defense as well. I think everybody's going to have to work for everything. I don't see tomorrow's game getting past 205. That's just my opinion. We'll see what's up, the update with Chris Paul, my guys. This line, they opened up at 4 for Phoenix, up to 5. They've been off for a while. In theory, Clippers are in a lot more a lot more groove right now. Just one day off from the last series. It's not necessarily 7, but they do have momentum right now. I do worry a tad about them going to party last night, but maybe not too heavy. They know they got the Suns on deck, but they enjoyed it a little bit. They had to. First ever conference finals. They enjoyed it. You could tell that just from when them going into the locker room. They were happy. They were ecstatic, but momentum is definitely on their side. I'd be looking at taking the points. We'll be back on here in the morning with some officials. Definitely got to see what's up with Chris Paul. He's the main thing, but heavy lean to that under for me, my guys, in that game 1. We will be back tomorrow. You damn straight we will. That's my guy, Shark in Sports. I'm your host, Jay Money. We back to my Shark. You want anything else before we dip or what?
No. And final point, people are coming in here. Please scroll back, obviously 33 minutes and 54 seconds. We like to count it because we like to dominate. This is just not where we make our money for myself and Jay. It's just not where we make our money. Game 7, 2 of the best teams in the league on a really sharp pick-em type of line, peak motivation. Nothing for me. And I would lean points, and I would maybe lean that's it. I would lean points. And again, that's nothing. I might sprinkle maybe at the most like a quarter unit on that. So Jay,
Lean over, right? Lean over.
This is tough, and we'll just be honest with you. And I want to just make that final point. Part of the reason why we respect the followers and the guys in the chat is you guys listen to us and you trust us. Trust us. We're probably the only people that you're going to hear in any sort of content sphere that will tell you this game is terrible to bet. And we're not doing it because we need to have a max bomb winner so more people follow us so we can go tout and make money off you. We're just going to tell you the game sucks to bet. and we love to talk about it. And I'm sure as hell going to enjoy watching this game.
Oh yeah.
I would be glued to the TV, but there's not much for me on this game. Jay?
Yeah, I'm likely going live for the whole damn game, man. Y'all like me cussing and watching the show, man. So I probably just sit up the phone and watch.
Maybe I'll join up for like the fourth quarter or something.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Yeah, no, I'm going live for at least the second half for sure, my guys. I'll tell you my leans. I lean Nets first quarter, first half, and I lean Bucks full game. I kind of, the way I see it going, I see the Bucks a little filling out process. They try to take their best punch from the Nets, let them run out of gas. Second half, I think these guys are going to have to play every single minute. We see the rotation tighten up for Steve Nash. I think this will come down to coaching. Middleton, as long as he done, I see Bucks win this one. It's going to be up to Middleton and obviously Holiday. I think Giannis is going for 30 and 10 in his sleep in this game. I do think that he will show up. On the other side, you got Harden, KD, my guys. It's up to them. Will Harden look a little better? Can he score a few more points? Can he actually drive into the hole? Will he get those bullshit three-point ticky-tack calls? And will KD go off for 40 to 50 points, my guys, or will he run out of gas? So only thing we're saying is, this is, in all honesty, a true toss type game for me in the full game. I can see it going either way. I couldn't talk anybody off of live betting this game as well, my guys. So only thing Shark saying with this type of game, in this particular atmosphere, we're not forcing official play here on this full game. I lean Bucks here, guys. I am rooting for the Bucks, but like I say, I don't bet with my heart. I understand why people are taking Nets, but I think you should just look at your reasons for taking the Nets. I don't think I'm saying. Don't just say, hey, Bucks are going to choke it, that you're going to choke on the road. This is a different year. This is a different team, in my opinion. And I think defense reigns, my guys. We will be back tomorrow with some officials for sure, my guys. I appreciate y'all. Probably give some officials on tomorrow's game tonight, man. So y'all come back and holler us. Go and follow my guy on Twitter at Shark and Sports. Go and follow me as well at J Money is Money. We appreciate y'all. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you know every single time we're going live, my guys. We're gone.